I wish we weren't here. I wish our Republican colleagues in the White House had shown more seriousness from the start. But Senate Democrats have been clear that we have all taken an oath to uphold the law of the country. And this Department of Homeland Security, this ICE, is out of control. They are tear gassing our children's schools. They are killing American citizens. They are disappearing legal migrants. I went down to Texas a couple weeks ago and sat across a table from 2 elementary school students who had been detained illegally for 6 weeks over Christmas while their mother was at home. It was a choice ICE made to traumatize and terrorize these children. Those children were alive on the outside but dead on the inside. So, yes, we believe we have a constitutional obligation to only fund a Department of Homeland Security that is obeying the law. And this Department of Homeland Security is not obeying the law. So I am hopeful that these discussions will continue. But frankly, we had plenty of time to get a deal in the last 2 weeks. And the lack of seriousness from the White House and from Republicans not getting language until last night has put us in the position we are in today. We want to fund the Department of Homeland Security, but only a department that is obeying the law. And for that reason, I would object.
The objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Recognized the senator from Alabama.
Look, I'm going to say it one more time. We wanted more time. Democrats asked for 2 weeks. Our concern was that 2 weeks wasn't long enough. It took the Democrats a week to articulate what it is they wanted. They articulated it via press conference and via tweet, not by conversation. Let's be clear, not by conversation. Then it took them a number more days from Wednesday to Saturday to come up with legislative text. We then did the same thing, working back and forward. Look, you've seen advancements made from the administration. We saw a big announcement made today by Tom Homan. There is no way that you can't say we're working in good faith. We want to continue this conversation, but yet you're penalizing a TSA agent. A TSA agent is going to go without a paycheck. Why? So that you can posture politically. I'm over it. Everybody on that side of the aisle knows that ICE and CBP will continue to be funded. They're going to continue to enforce the law just as they should. Who's going to pay the price? It's the TSA agent. It's the person working at FEMA who already went 43 days without a paycheck, who's trying to figure out how to make things work. I have reports of TSA agents sleeping in their car because they can't afford gas, selling plasma to make their bills. Guys, come on. We're asking to continue a conversation. When the Biden-Harris failed border policies allowed for millions to come across our border unvetted, when there were American citizens who paid the price in that moment, Mr. President, like Jocelyn Nungary, who was 12 years old and raped and left under a bridge, like Laken Riley, who fought for her life for 17 minutes, Mr. President, before her skull was bashed in. And we kept saying, we've got to do more to secure our border. And our Democratic colleagues said that takes legislation. It can't be done. Well, we know that's not true because all we needed was a new president who secured our border and helps to make our country safe. Look, I believe we are a nation of immigrants. We're also a nation of laws. And the lawlessness has to stop. But even in the midst of all of that, fentanyl overdoses at an all-time high, Mr. President, we didn't shut the department down. Not one time. And today, Democrats are choosing to shut the department down. We have exchanged texts. That's what you do in a negotiation. You work to find a pathway forward. There was an announcement today that shows we are operating in good faith. I don't know why people who have nothing to do with this are going to have to pay the price for us continuing to work to find a pathway forward. Mr. President, it would be different if we had thrown up our hands and said, nah, we're not going to send you anything back. We want this to work. We believe in our laws, we believe in enforcing them, and we believe in the men and women who do that. And so this is an unfortunate day. It's a sad day. It's certainly not one that had to happen. I want to be very clear. All we're asking for is 2 weeks to continue this conversation, to figure out how to make this work, and to do what's right for all American citizens. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from Connecticut.
Mr. President, I just want to reiterate that we got the language last night. We've been in a 2-week continuing resolution, and last night we got the first offer of legislation from the White House. We're not in charge. The Senate Democrats aren't in charge. We don't run the House. We don't run the White House. We waited for a week for there to be some process to be convened. We got no signal as to what that negotiation would look like, so we finally put our proposals, our text on the table, and didn't get an offer back until last night. My wish is for my Republican colleagues to be just as upset as they are about what is going to happen next week at TSA or at FEMA as for the children that are being traumatized right now in this country, who are being thrown in what's called the baby jail outside of San Antonio, the lives that are fundamentally changed by an immigration policy that is out of control, to have concern for the American citizens who have been killed simply exercising their First Amendment rights, to care about the 4 million Americans who are losing their insurance as we speak because this administration has chosen to put money into a lawless immigration enforcement operation instead of protecting people's health care. That's what's happening in America today. 4 million people are losing their health care insurance. 20 million people are having their rates go through the roof because the priority is flooding Minneapolis with ICE agents chasing down kids at school buses, at school bus stops, as they were doing just 2 days ago in Minneapolis, instead of protecting people's health care. People are losing health care in this country so as to fund this runaway Department of Homeland Security. And so we all have outrage about what is happening in this country today. And I don't know why it took the White House until last night to send any semblance of specifics on what they were willing to work for. We have an obligation as members of Congress to fund a government that obeys the law. This Department of Homeland Security is not obeying the law. They are not. And I would argue that every member of this body, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, in order to uphold your oath of office, should not be funding an agency that isn't complying with the Constitution and the statutes of the United States. So I do regret that we are at a moment in which we are not going to be able to fund the Department of Homeland Security, but there's a simple solution. If the agency starts behaving lawfully, if they start obeying the Constitution, then we can get back on the same page. This is an exceptional moment in this country's history. And my hope is that these negotiations move fast, expeditiously, and that perhaps as soon as we return, or if the majority leader would like to call us back into session next week, we can get the department back up and operating. But that's only going to happen with reforms. That's only going to happen with more serious engagement from the White House than has happened thus far.